Good morning, students. Good morning to all. Last day we have started the chapter 6 distribution analysis, and we have studied the kinds of distributions of income, and one of the theory also we have studied the marginal productivity theory of distributions. So today just we will remind what we have studied on last day, and we will go to the next one of new theory. So yesterday we have studied the meaning of distribution analysis. So distributions mean first we have to know for whom we have to distribute and what we have to distribute. So normally the producers or the production process, the producers are arranging the factor of production to produce any one of the commodities. So when they are going to arranging the factor of productions to the production process, he has to distribute, he has to provide some of the remunerations for their factor of productions. So the distributions means the divisions of income among the four factor of productions in terms of rent to the landlords, wage to the laborers, and interest to the capital, and profit to the entrepreneurs. So already we have studied, so the four factor of productions are there. Without these four factor of productions, we can't produce anything. So therefore, when we are arranging the factor of production, these four factor of production must be get the remunerations in any of the forms, so that the land also will get the remunerations in the form of rent, and the laborer will get their remuneration in the form of wages, and the capital also will be getting some of the interest, because if you are in this, when we are considering the capital, so many of the producers will be unable to having the or gathering the money from own, so he has to borrowing the money from any of the financial organizations. When they are borrowing the money, they have to repay the money to the financial organizations along with the interest. So the capital will always get the remunerations in the form of interest, and the entrepreneurs are the organizations. After producing any of the commodities, it has to go to the market by the way of commercial organizations or any of the entrepreneurs. So when the entrepreneurs going to undertaking the commercial organizations, these organizations must be getting the profit. So the organizations will get their remunerations in the form of profit. So the distributions, so the division of income among the four factor of productions will going to their remunerations. So next, the kinds of distributions, the personal distributions and the functional distribution. The two types of the distributions are there. Personal distributions mean, so the distribution of national income among the individual peoples. So all the peoples will get the gain or the advantages from the government. Government mean in the national income. Next, the functional distributions. The functional distributions mean the four factor of production. The four factor of productions will get their remunerations for the purpose of production process. For the function of production, the factor of production will get their remunerations. So the two types of distributions are there. And we have studied the one of the theory. So marginal productivity theory. So this marginal productivity theory developed by the Clark, Wicksteed, and Walters. So what this theory come to say means, this theory explains how the prices of various factor of production determined. How the prices of various factor of production determined. And it is also explains, so all the factor of productions will get their prices on the basis of their productivity. For example, if you are considering the labor also will have some of the productivity power to produce any one of the commodities. If the labor doesn't have the sufficient level of the productivity to produce any one of the commodities, the producers will never arrange the labor. So for the purpose of having the productivity power only, so the producers will be arranging the labor to production process. So if how the productivity power, hold or having by the labor, so equal to the productivity of labor only, their price will be determined. And after that we have studied some of the concept. So the marginal product, marginal physical product, and the value of marginal product, and the marginal revenue product. So marginal product mean the marginal product of a factor of production, means the addition made to the total product by employment of additional unit of these factors. For the production process, the producers will be arranging some unit of labor, and the some unit of labor also will produce some unit of commodities. So after that, at last, if you are additionally adding one more unit of labor, he also will produce one more unit of commodities. So on the last unit of labor are producing some unit of commodities there, no? So the last unit of product only is considered as a marginal product. So marginal physical product mean, so marginal physical product of a factor is the increment in the total product obtained by the employment of an additional unit of the factor. So like that, so when we are arranging the last unit of the labor, so the physical product is produced by the last unit of product is called as a marginal physical product, or the total product by adding one more unit of labor is called as a marginal physical product. Next, value of marginal product. So the value of marginal product is obtained by multiplying the marginal physical product of the factor by their price. So if we are multiplying the price with the total product, we will get the value of marginal product. Next, marginal revenue product. The marginal revenue product of a factor is the increment in the total revenue. So when we are arranging the last unit of labor, the producers will get some unit of revenue. So the revenue from used by the last unit of labor is called as marginal revenue of product. And at last we have studied some of the statement of the theory. So normally one of the employer will arranging the factor of production. This factor of productions will have the productivity power, and on the basis of the productivity power of the factor of productions only, he will get the price. So till one point, the producers will arranging the more factor of productions. So the factor of productions, the price for the factor of productions will also equal to the cost, the production cost or the revenue product. So the producers always arranging the factor of production till the marginal product, till the marginal revenue will come to equal to the factor, the price for the factor of production. So one last statement of the theory is the price of a factor of production depends upon its productivity. So on the basis of the productivity of the factor of productions only, the price for the factor of productions will be determined. Next, the price of a factor is determined by the marginal revenue product of that factor. When we are arranging one more unit of the factor of productions, how the producers will get the marginal revenue. So on the basis of the marginal revenue only, the factor of productions also will get their remunerations. And at last we have studied some of the criticism also. So what is the criticism is there mean? The reality, the factor of production are not homogeneous. Normally when we are considering the factor of productions, so the productivity of the factor of productions will be differ from one with each other. So normally if you are considering the labor, one of the labor will have more intellectual power or more physical power, and he will get some of the idea and he will get some of the specializations. But on the basis of the assumptions, it is not the homogeneous. Next, in practice, factors cannot be substituted for each other. We cannot substitute one labor with another one of the labor because the differentiation of productivity is there. Next, this theory applicable only in the long run. It cannot be applicable in the short term. But normally the demand will arise in this short term also. So this theory is not applicable to the short term. Okay students, then today we will study about the rent. The rent also one of the price for the landlords. So what's the meaning of rent is? The rent is the price or reward given for the use of land or house or a machine to the owner. For the production process, the producers will definitely will arrange the land or house or any one of the machines. Suppose if the producers doesn't has the own land or own house or own machine, he has to take the land, house or machines as a rent. So when they are arranging the land or house or machines will get their remunerations. In which form they will get the remunerations means, as we studied already, the landlords or the house or the machines will get the remunerations in the form of rent. So rent is the price or reward given for the use of land, house or machine to the owner. Suppose the owner also may have the own land, house or machines. Even if he has the own land, house or machines, he has to allot some amount of money in the form of rent. Then only he can able to calculate the total revenue or the net revenue. But in economics, rent or economic rent refers to that part of payment made by a tenant to his landlords for use of the land only. So normally the producers will use the land, house or machines for their production purposes. But in economics, the rent, so especially mentioned only by the land. For producing any of the commodities, if we are using the land only will have the remunerations in the form of rent. So when we are studying about the rent, some of the theories also is there. So the classical theory of rent is called Ricardian theory of rent. The David Ricardo explained the theory of rent. So the Ricardo also is considered as a classical economist. So the classical theory of rent also is called as a Ricardian theory. So according to the Ricardian, rent is that portion of the produce of the earth which is paid to the landlord for the use of the original land and indestructible powers of the soil. So normally the soil will have the original and indestructible powers, because we can use the soil or the different type of the soils are there. So the powers of soil will be indestructible. So when we are using the land for the production process, he must get some of the portions from our income for using the earth. So this theory is considered as the Ricardian theory. For explaining the Ricardian theory of rent, we have to consider some of the assumptions. So what are the assumptions are there mean? First one is land differs in fertility. The land differs in fertility. Differs in fertility means, so different type of the soils are there. The different type of the soils also will have the different prosperities. Next, the law of diminishing returns operates. The law of diminishing returns operates in this agriculture. The law of diminishing returns means, so when we are using the lands continuously, the productivity of the land will be decreased. That is the law of diminishing returns. Next, rent depends upon fertility and location of land. Rent depends upon the fertility and location of land. Suppose when we have the agricultural land nearby our home or nearby our market, he will get more rent. Suppose if any of the land is maybe very fair it will get low rent. Other like that, some of the fertility of land, suppose any of the land has more prosperity, it will get more rent, otherwise it will get low rent. Next, this theory assumes perfect competitions. Perfect competitions means those who want to come, they can come and they can live from the agriculture. Next, it is based on the assumption of long period. So we have to wait to produce as long period. Next, there is existence of marginal land or no rent land. The marginal land mean or no rent land mean when we are using any of the land, if you are not getting any of the yield, if you are not able to earning from that land is considered as no rent land. If you are using some of the land in agricultural sector and from this soil, if you are not earning any of the income, you will never give the rent, so that is called as a no rent land. The land has certain original and indestructible powers. So if you are considering the land also will have some of the indestructible powers. So the soil always will have some power of yield. Next, the land is used for cultivations only. So normally in our economics or the production process, we can use the land for more purposes. So we can build any of the construct to using to the industrial sectors. So but here the land is used for the cultivations only. Next, most fertile land are cultivated first. Suppose if there is different type of the soils or lands are there, mean normally we will use the most fertile land only at first. So we have to consider these 8 assumptions. After consider these 8 assumptions only, we can explaining this theory. First, we will assume that some of the peoples go to a newly discovered island. So by telling one of the imaginary story, only we can explain this theory. So according to this, some peoples go to a newly discovered island and settle down there. So there are three grades of land, namely A and B and C. Okay, we are going to some new discovered land, and some of the peoples are going to new discovered land, and there is 3 types of lands are there, A, B and C. The island, the A being most fertility land, A being as a most fertility land, and B is also less fertility land, and C is the least fertility land. So since the land is abundant and idle, there is no need to pay rent long as the best land are freely available. Because when we are going to the new recovered land, there is no need to paying to the rent, and it is not used before that, so there is no need to paying the rent. So given a certain amount of labor and capital, the yield per acre on A grade land is 40 bags of paddy. By using the same level of the capital and labor, produce the 40 bags of paddy per acre. Suppose another group of people goes to settle down in the same island after some time, because after producing the 40 bags of paddy is not sufficient to the peoples. So suppose another group of people goes to settle down in the same island after some time. Hence the demand for the agricultural product will be increased. The most fertile land alone cannot produce all the food grains that are needed on account of the operations of low diminishing returns. Because when we are using the A-grade land only, so it will bringing the low diminishing returns. Okay, so when we are using the A-grade land only, it will never supposed to the supply of goods to the all the peoples. So the less fertility lands will have to be brought under cultivation in order to meet the demand for that newly arrived peoples. So for the same amount of labor and capital employed in A grade land, the yield per acre on B grade land in 30 bags of paddy. So how much amount of capital and labors are used to cultivate the A grade land? The same peoples are used to the cultivation of B land also. So by cultivating the B grade land, so the B grade land will provide the 30 bags of paddy per acres. So now A grade land will get the 40 percentage of 40 bags of paddy, and B grade of land will produce the 30 percentage of paddy. So when we are comparing to the B grade land with A grade land, the A grade land will have the surplus amount of bags, 10 amount of bags. Suppose, moreover, another group of people goes to settle down in the same land. So the least fertility land will have to be brought under the cultivation. For the same amount of labor and capital, the yield per acre on C grade land is 20 bags per acre. By using the same capital and labor, the grade C land also going to cultivated, and because of that the C grade land will produce the 20 bags of paddy. So the surplus of A grade land is now raised to 20 bags, and it is the economic rent of A grade land. The surplus of B grade land is 10 bags. This is the economic rent of B grade land. So if you are considering the land for the A grade and B grade and C grade land mean, so A grade land will have the 20 bags, okay, because on the basis of the fertility and the land only the rent will be going to consider. So now A grade land will have the 20 bags in surplus. So like that, comparing to the B grade land with the C grade land, so it has also surplus 10% 10 bag paddy will have the surplus. So next, C grade land also will have the surplus amount, no surplus amount, because the 20 minus 20. So there is no yield. So above table, the C grade land cost of production is just equal to the price of produce and therefore does not yield any rent. So when we are comparing to the A grade land with the C grade land, there is no productions because the surplus amount and the rent also is considered in the bags. So A grade land will have the 20% bag as a rent. So when we are comparing to the C grade land, so there is no rent land. So therefore no rent land or marginal land is the land in which cost of production is just equal to the price of its produce. So how much amount of money is produced to cultivate the C grade land is equal to the yield by the land. So how much amount of income is earned by the C grade land is going to produce or use that only. So there is no rent. So by explaining the diagrammatic, so there is three types of the grades are there. So this is the A grade land, this is the B grade land, this is the C grade land. So when we are using the A grade land, so it can able to produce the 40 bags paddy. After that, the B grade land also will use the 30% of paddy or 30 bags of paddy. So these two land only will get some of the rent, economic rent. Economic rent mean, so the 20 bags of paddy is considered as the economic rent for a A grade land, and the 10 bags of paddy is considered as a economic rent for a B grade land. And here the no rent land, because this C grade land is not yield. So the yielded bags of paddy is went to the production process only. So this C grade land will never get any of the rent. So in this theory, we have to consider some of the criticisms. What are the criticisms are there mean? The order of cultivation from the most fertility to least fertility land is historically wrong, because normally we will never know about which land is fertility land. But this theory assumes first the peoples are going to use the fertility land, but after cultivating any of the land only, we will come to know which land is the fertility land. Next, this theory assumes that rent does not enter into the price, but in reality, rent enter into the price only. So normally, the bags of paddy will never assumed or never considered as a rent. So it will always enter into the price. Now all the peoples are getting their rent in the form of money only. Okay, students, if you have any doubt in this regarding the area of rent, just ask me, and just take the same theory as your study portion. Please study in your home, and if you are getting any doubt, please ask me. It is the very easiest theory. When you are studying yourself itself, you can understand. Okay, thank you.